More breaking inputs coming in from India, where the Enforcement Directorate has confirmed that the fugitive billionaire Nirav Modi has been arrested in the UK and that he will be produced in a court at 3:30 p.m. today. That's the latest that we're getting to you. This, of course, coming in days after that arrest warrant was issued by the Westminster Court against the fugitive billionaire Nirav Modi after the ED, Enforcement Directorate and the CBI teams here in India had pursued that matter with the UK authorities. Following that extradition request that was made by the Indian government, the UK Home Secretary Sajid Javid had then forwarded that arrest warrant request and that formal request to the Westminster Court, and that's when the court had cracked the whip and issued that arrest warrant. Nirav Modi was spotted in London just a few days back, roaming around freely. Remember, he's wanted in India for defrauding Indian banks, the Punjab National Bank, of more than 13,000 crore rupees, one of the biggest banking fraud scams. Nirav Modi was then also spotted. That's the latest piece of footage that came in just a day ago of media personnel posing questions and him being elusive, trying to evade those questions. The latest that we're getting to you is that Nirav Modi has been arrested. Let's get in quick reactions now. Multiple voices joining us in the broadcast. Also joining us is senior advocate Sanjay Hegde. So your initial reaction to the latest that's coming in. A big win for India, of course. Nirav Modi's extradition process to formally begin now that he's been arrested in the UK.
Well, I don't see anything as a win or a loss. This is a stage in the legal process. It's rather well known that the British authorities at an earlier stage had not particularly done anything because they deemed that the earlier Indian requests had not been acted upon and India did not seem serious. It is only after the exposure by the Telegraph that things have now seemed to be falling in place. He has been arrested by the magistrate's court, which will, of course, in a normal circumstance, be expected to grant him bail so that he can defend the extradition process. We've seen this thing happen before with Vijay Mallya. We saw how the proceedings in the magistrate's court stretched out over a period of at least 6 months. It's only after the magistrate passes his formal recommendation does the Home Secretary get to act. I would not be very sanguine that Mr. Modi will be back home in India before the election. I do hope that whichever government comes into power later also keeps the pressure intact.
Right, sir. And also for the benefit of our viewers, if you can elaborate for us what the next few days and weeks will be looking like. Of course, he has all the right to also apply, seek bail, and that's when we're looking at the arguments to take place. But for the trial, which is going to be a long drawn one as far as the extradition process is concerned, if you can break down the steps for us.
See, the first step which has occurred now is the launching of formal extradition proceedings and the court concerned ensuring that he is there to face those extradition proceedings. That's precisely what the arrest and the subsequent release on bail will be about.
Unfortunately, he lost that line with Sanjay Hegde, but he was elaborating for us. It's going to be a long-drawn extradition trial process, Karthike. Of course, this is just the first step, as Sanjay Hegde was also telling us. But at the same time, the very fact that the process has gathered momentum just days after Nirav Modi was spotted in London.
Oh, yes. You know, see, one has to see now whether in this bail could be given, whether the provisions under which magistrate tries him are bailable, because we have to understand that in countries like UK, other countries, there are certain, these matters can be very procedural, arrest and then you get the bail and then you fight the case. So we have to factor that in mind. The arrest has taken place because we have moved for extradition. Now the other person has the right to appeal. So these are the legal technicalities which we have to see. But yes, I would say that this matter is going to prolong. This matter will be fought in the court, and I would say that it's not going to immediately end. Now, we are being told that he will be produced in court around 15:30 IST, which is which is in some time from now, and Modi will seek bail immediately, and it's going to kickstart a lengthy hearing for extradition of Modi from UK, which means that basically the procedure will start, and Nirav Modi will have the option of moving for bail. It entirely depends on how this case will be fought, whether he will be detained and then the case will be fought. You know, there are sometimes in cases where you feel that the defendant has the ability to influence the case. You know, the person is detained, the case is fought. So in this case, one has to see as to how Nirav Modi will be treated there in the court.
Right, and also drawing a comparison, Kartikeya, with the case of Vijay Mallya and the one that we are seeing playing out right before us now, the case of Nirav Modi. Of course, Nirav Modi will be seeking bail. In the case of Vijay Mallya as well, you know, similar allegations and similar procedure that was followed. But Vijay Mallya's attempt at getting bail also was something that had raised several question marks.
Absolutely. See, you know, people forget that, you know, the extradition in these legal procedures take long time. You know, India took a long time to extradite Abu Salim from Portugal. You know, it's not as if, you know, there's a phone call from India and the person gets extradited, because you are under different countries' jurisdiction. So the legal procedures of that sovereign nation kicks into action. So obviously the judicial procedures of the sovereign nation which is UK, will kick into action. But one will have to see what sort of arguments take place inside the court. What are the arguments given by the India, those who are moving the extradition, who have moved the extradition papers? What is the argument of the defendant in the court? You know, what sort of leeway will he be given? You know, sometimes people are given bail, but their passport is, taken away from them. Sometimes people are given bail, but they are told not to leave the city. Sometimes people are kept under house arrest, or sometimes people are detained. So, you know, one has to see, it's very layered, Molly, as to how the British authorities, the British judge will respond to this development.
Right, and multiple aspects of that development, Kartikeya, but also one of them will be the way the political ramifications also of this case really impact the election process. Of course, we are looking at the timing of the arrest as being this close to the elections. All right, I'll just come back to you, Kartikeya. Also joining us is Harpreet S. Gyani, a barrister from London. Harpreet, thanks very much for speaking with us here on Wion. If you can first up give us the latest that you have been able to get in from the various reports that are coming in of Nirav Modi being arrested, and also elaborate for us what the next few hours and days could look like for the fugitive billionaire.
Yes, thank you for having me. I am aware that he has been arrested and he's going to be produced in court today at about, I think, 10 o'clock or something close to that in London time. He will be produced before the chief magistrate or some other magistrate, where he will be given an opportunity and he will be asked, do you consent to going back to India voluntarily as a result of the extradition notice? I would be very surprised if he says yes. And for that reason, the case is likely to be adjourned to give him an opportunity to make good his objections. What are the reasons why he says that he should not be extradited to India following the request? And he will be admitted to bail. It's almost a given that he will get bail unless the Crown Prosecution Service are able to make out good reasons to show that he will be a flight risk. But given the media coverage of recent times that he's got a business and a residence in this country, I don't see that being run very successfully. And therefore, the process is literally going to follow very closely the process that was followed in the case of Vijay Mallya, which is that he gets an opportunity to raise objections. The Indian government, through the Crown Prosecution Service, will have an opportunity of responding to that. And the judges at the end of the day will decide. It's not going to be a short process. It will take time. It will take less time than Vijay Mallya's matter, because that was untreaded ground. That was ground that was being broken for the first time. Now we have a roadmap. So it will be slightly truncated, but that is essentially what's going to happen now.
Right. Harpreet, also a lot of comparisons are being drawn now with the way, as you just mentioned, the case played out in the case of Vijay Mallya, and now we're looking at Nirav Modi being arrested and will be produced in a court shortly. He will be seeking bail. At the moment, we are also trying to get in a word, if at all, from his defense team and what the arguments will be shaping up to be. But your assessment of the similarities that one, draws up in the two cases and the way bail was sought.
Well, there are direct parallels between the two cases. The court is less concerned about the substantive evidence against him for the charges that he faces in India. The court is going to be more interested in the procedural safeguards and ensuring that all the boxes have been ticked. What you have to bear in mind is that although for India, extradition or receiving people in extradition is fairly unusual, in this country, judges deal with extradition requests from all countries around the world, whether from within the European Union or outside, on a daily basis. There are multiple applications, so they are very well used to all of this. The parallels exist. There would be some, I'm sure, lawyers who would turn around and say that we must run all of those same arguments again, that prison conditions in India are bad and all of that. So there, I think the timeline will be shorter because the chief magistrate has already made a finding of fact that prison conditions in India are not so terrible after all. But yes, the procedure will be fairly similar.
Procedure will be fairly similar. Also, Harpreet, if you can break down for our viewers, it's a long-drawn extradition process trial, of course. This is just the first step, but it's a complicated one. It's a complicated process. But if you can help our viewers better understand what the next few days and weeks will be like, because we're looking at, of course, the Indian team, which has already presented evidence and will be continuing to present more evidence to the Crown Prosecution Service so that they can better understand what the charges and what the accusations against Nirav Modi really are.
Well, procedurally, the judge has to be satisfied that there is a valid request from India. That shouldn't be very difficult to prove. That yes, the appropriate authority has made that application. It has come through the formal channels to this country. His defences will literally be the same half a dozen defences that are available to everybody. That is, A, sending him back to India will violate his human rights, or B, he might try to say that he's been tried, this is a political stunt, and therefore he would be prejudiced or he would be persecuted if he goes back to India. He could also try to say that it would be unduly onerous, affect his human rights, because he would be taken away from his family, or that he would not get a fair trial in India. These are the normal defences that are taken. As far as the government of India is concerned, they have to prove that the offences with which he is charged in India, or for which he's being investigated in India, are also criminal offences in this country. Now, money laundering is one of them. Bribery is another one of them. These are dual criminality offences, which means they are criminal offences in both countries. You see, if there is, for example, an offence, and a particular act which is criminal in India but not criminal in UK, then you can't really rely on that for extradition. You have to pull out of your hand things which are criminal in both countries. I don't think that that is a very onerous thing. The onerous thing for India is going to be meeting his defences, and as long as they are able to show that his human rights will not be violated, and it's a proper, formal criminal investigation or prosecution, there's nothing political about it, there won't be any undue harassment, he should be all right. India should be all right, I mean.
At the moment, Harpreet, also his passport has been revoked. He cannot obviously leave the UK, and that's going to be a condition that's going to be placed on him as well if he was to get bail.
A slight correction. Not having a passport doesn't mean that he can't leave UK. Not having a passport means he can't return to the UK, because once he's left the border and gone to another jurisdiction, that jurisdiction may or may not allow him to come back to this country. As far as the United Kingdom is concerned, if he has a valid visa to be in this country, they are not bothered about any country. They are not bothered about whether he has a valid passport or not. The existence or absence of a passport is irrelevant. What is relevant for the courts or for the authorities in the United Kingdom is whether he's here lawfully, as in he has a valid visa of any sort, or whether he doesn't. Passport is for crossing borders. He may have some restrictions based, you're right, that he cannot leave the jurisdiction, but that is fairly easy to police because you can have in all points a bulletin sent out to the ports and airports and seaports saying that he shouldn't. And, he would be asked to provide bail, which would be a substantial amount of money to ensure that he gets back, maybe surety that people undertake to bring him back to court whenever required. So, yeah, there will be conditions for sure.
All right. We're going to leave it there for the moment. Harpreet S. Gyani, thanks very much for joining us on the broadcast. But of course, keep coming back to you as and when further updates trickle in. At this point, just to put this in perspective for our viewers, that's a big piece of breaking information that we've been getting to you over the last few minutes. Fugitive billionaire wanted in India for defrauding Indian banks to the tune of more than 13,000 crore rupees. Nirav Modi has been arrested in the UK following that arrest warrant that was issued by the Westminster Court there. He will be produced in the court in just a short while from now. Karthike, my colleague, has been getting us the very latest as well. Karthike, as per the initial information that's trickled in so far, we are also understanding that there's going to be a similarity in the team that's also going to be representing Nirav Modi. In the case of Vijay Mallya as well, there was some representatives. A part of that team will also be representing Nirav Modi. Is that correct? Do we have any confirmation on that front?
See, yes, he has been arrested. He will be produced in the court. But you see, we have to bring this forth for our viewers that it's going to be a very lengthy legal procedure. You know, there's a possibility he might ask for asylum. As the lawyer with whom you were speaking to, there's a 100% possibility that he might get bailed today.
Yeah.
There is also a possibility that, you know, the hearing will be adjourned because, you know, his objections will be registered. So it's not as if that, you know, he's coming to India anytime soon. What has happened is that on the pursual of matter by Indian authority, Nirav Modi has been arrested. Nirav Modi, as per the law, will be produced before the magistrate, and in all likelihood, he might just get bail. Now, as the distinguished lawyer was saying, that it's not even that, you know, Nirav Modi cannot travel outside UK. His Indian passport has been revoked, but then he has another set of passport, and he can use it to travel out of UK. And secondly, India will have to prove criminality because certain things which are criminal in India may not be criminal in that perfect sense of the word in UK as per the law. So a lot more legal muscle will need to get into that. So yes, it's a one tiny good baby step, but then most likely it's going to be a lengthy procedure. We have seen what's happening in the Vijay Mallya case. In the Vijay Mallya case, it has become lengthy. Then Nirav Modi also will have the right to seek asylum in UK. Now, this decision, and we know that once you seek asylum, it cannot be summarily dismissed, you know. Nirav Modi will have to fight the case. We will also have to fight the case. So, you know, this is going to be a long and complicated procedure which can take its own time.
All right, stay with me, Karthike, as we've been discussing for you what the next few hours could look like for the fugitive billionaire Nirav Modi, who's now been arrested. He will be produced in a court in just a short bit from now. We'll, of course, keep tracking the latest coming in from the court. But the bigger question is what happens next. The trial will kick off in the Westminster Court. Assuming that the court rules in favor of the Indian government, the order to extradite Nirav Modi will then be issued. But he will still have the option to challenge the court's decision, of course. Sources suggest a joint team of the CBI, the Central Bureau of Investigation, and the Enforcement Directorate will be visiting the UK as well. They will be providing the Crown Prosecution Service with evidence against Nirav Modi. The fugitive billionaire has been wanted in India. He is a prime accused in a $2 billion loan fraud scam. This is the biggest banking fraud in the country's history. Nirav Modi has been in London since last year. Reports say he was able to travel in and out of Britain at least 4 times.